Ordinary whales don't have feet, but they have more than 50 vertebrae. However, the giant creature that appeared in northeast China in 1934 not only had 2 feet nearly 1 meter long on its head, but also had only 28 vertebrae. This is exactly the mark of the legendary true dragon. Do you think dragons only exist in myths and legends? The Shenjing Times shocking report in 1934 recorded a dragon falling from the sky, a giant dragon nearly 10 meters long. It was seen by hundreds of eyewitnesses. It had rugged feet, and its body was covered in scales, making a moo-like sound. This perfectly matched the totem that China has passed down for thousands of years. Even more bizarre is that, just as scientists were about to uncover the truth, the exhibited dragon skeleton, which attracted thousands of people, suddenly disappeared mysteriously. Was it a stranding of some unknown creature? Or a carefully planned deception? Or, as the witnesses insisted, did a real dragon come to the human world? Today, we will analyze the historical mystery layer by layer, and track this unsolved mystery of the world that has been buried for 90 years. The Yingkou Dragon Fall Incident. Early July 1934. Yingkou had just experienced a rare rainstorm. The sky was still overcast. 9-year-old Xiao Suqin followed the villagers towards the riverbank of the Daling River near Tianzuangtai. Downstream. The scene that followed would forever be etched in her memory. It had a square head and big eyes, and was blinking. Its body was greyish-white, curled up there. The tail was curled up. There were also 2 claws stretching out from its belly, and there were horns on its head. Years later, old Xiao Suqin could still clearly describe the appearance of the giant creature. These features did not match any known animals, but surprisingly coincided with the dragon in Chinese traditional culture. What's even stranger is that the creature made a mooing sound like a cow. It seemed to be in great pain. The villagers firmly believed it was a real dragon from the heavens. They immediately organized a rescue operation. They built a makeshift shelter to block the sun. They poured water on it, carrying it in buckets to keep it moist. Monks from nearby temples even came to chant scriptures to help it, hoping the dragon could return to the heavens soon. However, after several days of rescue efforts, a new rainstorm hit Yingkou. When the villagers rushed to the beach again, the living dragon was nowhere to be seen. Where did it go? Did it leave on its own, or was it swept away by the flood? No one knows the exact answer. You might think this is just an exaggerated rumor, but what happened 20 days later pushed this folk tale into a nationwide news event. To capture this elusive mysterious creature, high-quality photographic equipment is essential. If you want to save money, you still have to look at Zhuan. It's very cost-effective to buy a phone from them right now. This 95% new iPhone 14 Pro is only 3,728 yuan, equivalent to 40% of the price of a new phone. The price-performance ratio is super high, and Zhuan has more than just phones. iPads and DJI Pox 3. The prices are also very affordable. Zhuan is a professional, officially certified second-hand platform. It has a variety of patented quality inspection equipment. Each product undergoes a comprehensive inspection by professional engineers, and supports a 7-day no-reason return policy and a 1-year warranty. Go to Zhuan now and search for the code. You can also receive subsidies for major brands and coupons up to 1,000 yuan. Take advantage of the platform's promotions. Everyone, go to Zhuan and update your digital products. August 8, 1934. In the reed marshes of Dongxiao Street on the north bank of the Liao River, a putrid stench was emanating. Following clues, local farmers found in the fallen reeds a giant skeleton. This time, the entire northeast media couldn't ignore its existence. Starting from August 11th, the Shenjing Times reported this discovery on the front page for several days in a row. The headline of the August 12th newspaper was astonishing. Giant dragon descends on Yingkou. The August 14th report further detailed the characteristics of the skeleton. A total of 28 segments. Each joint expands by 2 inches, 5 inches long, about 3 *long *long in total. Its head has a foot extending from each side, about 3 chi long. The shape is similar to deer antlers, but thicker. The color of its bones is milky white. It still had muscles when first discovered. The stench was overwhelming. Local historical records also left traces of this event. Afternoon of August 8th, on East Xiaojia, on the north bank of the Liao River, a farmer found the skeleton of a huge animal in a nearby reed pond. About 10 meters long. There was a horn on each side of the head. About 1 meter long. There were 29 vertebrae in total. It was transported and displayed for several days in an open space near Shihai Pass Wharf. But a key question arose. Were the living dragons that the villagers saw the same creature as this skeleton? If it was, how did it turn into just a skeleton in just over 20 days? Next, we will trace these key eyewitness accounts, searching for clues of the truth hidden in the dust of time. The giant skeleton discovered on August 8, 1934, quickly became a sensation. At that time, the people of Yingkou City came to hear the news, and the crowd of onlookers was a sea of people. The Shenjing Times described the scene as viewers filling the roads. Not only the local people, but even tourists from afar rushed to visit. So much so that train tickets to Yingkou were once in short supply and rose in price. In that era, when the spread of information was slow without the internet, people were even willing to travel long distances, just to catch a glimpse of this mysterious creature. Local photo studios, Madar and Yingling, seized the business opportunity. They printed a large number of photos of the dragon bones, selling these blurry old photos that have survived to this day. It's the only remaining visual evidence. But here, the first key question arises. Faced with such a sensational event involving various parties, why weren't there any clearer, more scientifically valuable visual materials left behind? Where are those original negatives now? More importantly, multiple eyewitnesses provided detailed oral testimonies of the event. Besides the memory of the living dragon by old Xiao Suqin, Chai Shukang, Sun Zhengren, and other elders, when interviewed decades later, still insisted that what they saw that year was a dragon or a dragon skeleton. Although these descriptions may have some deviations due to the passage of time, the consistency of the core features adds authenticity to the event. This world-renowned skeleton Its ultimate fate, however, has become the biggest mystery of the entire event. According to reports, after being publicly displayed for a period, the skeleton was handed over to a local normal school as a specimen. In that era of frequent warfare, these precious pieces of evidence ultimately vanished and disappeared from the long river of history. This is what puzzles researchers the most. Such important scientific evidence. Why was it not properly preserved and studied? Was it accidentally destroyed in the turbulent times? Or deliberately hidden by certain people for specific purposes? This skeleton, if it could have been preserved to this day, modern technology would surely reveal its true identity. However, what history has left us is only blurry photos and scattered records. Before the discovery of the dragon bones, there was an even more shocking report. Adding to the mystery of the event, it is said that the Xing Times on July 28, 1934, reported under the title Dragon's Descent causes disaster. A dragon descended from the sky in Yingkou and revived, not only bringing strange noises, but also causing actual damage, capsizing 3 small boats, and damaging factory buildings, leading to 9 deaths. If this report is true, then this dragon is not just a beached creature, but possesses immense power, even able to influence the weather. This perfectly aligns with the image of dragons in folklore, able to summon clouds and rain, with immense power. However, the authenticity of this report of a dragon causing disaster is also questioned. Directly verifiable related photocopies are scarce. Most are retellings. Such a major disaster should have had more extensive and continuous reporting and records. But the relevant evidence in public records is weak. Was it exaggerated reporting at the time? Or did it actually happen? But information was selectively retained. And what's most perplexing is whether this disaster-causing dragon is the same as the later living dragon and the dragon skeleton. Or not. If not, did Yingkou really have multiple dragons in just one summer? These questions make people think. Is there a more rational explanation that can link these seemingly disjointed events together? Since that crucial dragon skeleton has disappeared, we can only speculate about its true identity based on existing clues. Based on the available information, the scientific community has primarily proposed 2 possibilities. The first theory posits that the so-called dragon that appeared in Yingkou could be some kind of rare aquatic or amphibious creature. This speculation is not without reason. Yingkou is located at the mouth of the Liao River, a unique geographical location where freshwater and seawater meet. This just so happens to create conditions for marine creatures to stray into the river. Recollections of old Lady Xiao Suqin, the living dragon needed villagers to continuously splash water on it to stay alive. This also seems to confirm its dependence on an aquatic environment. Imagine, after a heavy rain, the water level suddenly dropped. A giant creature, which usually lives in deep sea areas, was trapped in the shallow water, struggling to survive. Such a scenario is not entirely impossible. In fact, historically, there have indeed been many recorded instances of large marine animals stranding. However, none of them perfectly match the image of a dragon. However, this unknown aquatic creature theory faces insurmountable obstacles. The most obvious problem is the frequently mentioned pair of dragon horns. Among all the aquatic creatures we know, none have structures similar in shape to deer antlers, but with thicker, horn-like structures. The scales characteristics described by Xiao Suqin also do not match those of mammals like whales, and its square head, square face, and blinking eyes, as well as details of 2 claws, are also hard to correspond with known aquatic animals. The second widely discussed explanation is that the so-called dragon bones were actually the remains of a decaying baleen whale that had beached. Baleen whales are a type of large whale, whose adult length can indeed reach about 10 meters, which is comparable to the size of the dragon bones described in the reports. Proponents believe that, after a whale dies, its body decomposes and deforms. Its long, slender jawbones, when detached or positioned at a certain angle, are very likely to be mistaken as horns by those unfamiliar with whale skeletal structures. Under the strong influence of dragon culture, people seeing such a huge and peculiar skeleton can easily, under psychological suggestion, associate it with the legendary dragon. Even in memory and retelling, details more consistent with the dragon image are unconsciously added. This psychological phenomenon has long been documented in the study of witness testimony. People often combine what they actually see with elements from their own cultural background. However, the whale stranding theory also faces serious challenges. The most obvious contradiction is that the Shenzhen Times clearly recorded the entire skeleton had a total of 28 vertebrae, while the number of baleen whale vertebrae is usually over 50. This difference is really too big. More importantly, if it were merely a stranded whale, why would there be so many eyewitnesses, such as Xiao Suqin, with such consistent and detailed descriptions of the living dragon stage? These descriptions include that it could blink, had claws, and was covered in scales. These features are completely different from those of the mammalian whale. Did all the witnesses have such similar collective hallucinations? We have to consider a more complex situation. Is there a third possibility? Perhaps these seemingly contradictory records and descriptions actually point to multiple different events being mixed together. For example, the living dragon skeleton and the dragon that caused the disaster could be 3 completely different natural phenomena. They were just wrongly linked together during the propagation process. From the perspective of environmental adaptability, Yingkou is located at the mouth of the Liao River, a typical estuary wetland ecosystem. The continuous heavy rain in the summer of 1934 could indeed have caused some aquatic creatures to be washed ashore. This is in line with science. The question is, what kind of creature was it? Interestingly, the Shenzhen Times once quoted the views of a professor from a fishery school, calling it Jiaolei Hibai. The word Jiaozi itself carries a legendary color, implying that even those who had received professional training at the time. Perhaps this was the scientific community at the times, a euphemistic way of expressing the unknown phenomenon, neither completely denying it, nor hastily confirming it. Modern researchers have obvious differences. One group insists that this was a baleen whale stranding event, and all the dragon characteristics are the result of cognitive bias and cultural projection. The other group points out the huge differences between the skeletal characteristics and those of a baleen whale, and the consistency of eyewitness descriptions, is difficult to explain as a simple misunderstanding. The most regrettable thing is, due to the lack of key physical evidence, this exploration is more like a jigsaw puzzle that can never be completed. We can only speculate on the original appearance through the existing fragments, and the truth may forever be hidden in the mists of history. After nearly a century of wind and rain, the Yingkou Dragon Incident still shrouds the historical sky like a mist. It is no longer just a dusty folk tale. It has also become a thought experiment that challenges the boundaries of our cognition. The giant dragon, said to have fallen from the sky, not only touched the emotional resonance of the Chinese people with their ancient totem, but also sparked deep thinking about the intersection of scientific memory and culture. The reason this event is so fascinating lies precisely in its perfect combination of seemingly conclusive eyewitness testimonies, black and white media reports, and the ultimately disappeared key physical evidence. It makes us constantly ask ourselves, what is real? Should we believe the firm narratives of those who experienced it, or rigorous reasoning that follows the existing scientific framework? Our memory and cultural understanding, and to what extent did it reshape what we believe to be true? Can you imagine the living dragon in the eyes of the old lady, Xiao Suqin? It had a square head, with blinking eyes, covered in scales, and two claws extending from its belly. Did such a creature really exist? Perhaps it was just an unfortunately stranded whale, gradually transforming into the image of a dragon in people's collective imagination. Or perhaps it really is a creature that science has yet to record, forgotten by the world because of its rarity. That key dragon skeleton has long disappeared into the dust of history. Its absence makes the mystery of the Yingkou dragon even more confusing. Which possibility would you choose to believe? Is it those eyewitness memories that have survived for nearly a century, which still remain clear? Or is it using the known scientific framework to seek an explanation for this unsolved case? In any case, the story of the dragon will continue to spread, just like all great mysteries, always challenging the boundaries of our perception. This is the Unsolved Mysteries channel. We'll see you next time.